Welcome to this edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joe Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production at the University of Central Missouri, and it's my pleasure every week to get to sit down and visit with some of our alumni. We visit with those who graduated in digital media production, others who got their degree in communication study, some who got their master's degrees here. We even get to talk to some who were here before it was DMP and communication studies, and even before it was the University of Central Missouri. Today is just such a day. Meet David McDonald. David, like me, graduated when the school was called Central Missouri State University. He graduated in 2006 with a degree in broadcast media. He's gone on to an 11-year career as an award-winning journalist and producer, and today he's working in PR for BrightView Health. David, great to have you with us. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I was wondering how long it was going to take to get on this, but
Well, sometimes we have a hard time connecting and getting you from the get-go, man. You were going to be a part of it, so thank you for being here today. Tell us about where you are today, but even before that, let's go back to before you came to CMSU. Talk about your journey here to the university.
Sure. I grew up in Kansas City, so not far. It was, 45 minutes one way. I actually started visiting the university in high school because one of my best friends was in the marching band. And back when CMSU, the marching band had like a twist swagger. So I was a French horn player and I got in the marching band, and that's what really brought me to CMSU. After that, they stopped doing the swagger and it wasn't as much fun, but I still enjoyed music. But that's what brought me there. It was close. A lot of my friends went there. There was great opportunities. It was close to home, but far enough away that if I didn't want the parents to show up, I could make excuses. But it was a great experience. It was a very fast 4 years, but all the connections that I've made there have led me to where I am now. So I'm very thankful for all of it.
So talking about where you are now, talk to us about your journey after you graduated.
After I graduated, well, like I mentioned, I grew up in Kansas City, and shortly after I graduated, because of a girl named Michelle who was in the master's program, she got me a job at KCTV5 as an associate producer. So I worked overnights on weekends, and I was, approaching my 30s, and I was kind of getting burnt out on Kansas City because at the time the sports teams were not that great, and there was nothing to do that I hadn't already done. So I got the itch to leave, and I applied for a job in Nashville. I stayed within the company that I was working for, so it didn't look like I was jumping jobs. Didn't think I was going to get it because it's Nashville. And they called me up 2 days later, and we interviewed, and I took the job. I surprised my parents saying, "Hey guys, I'm leaving in 2 weeks." Packed up all my stuff, my 2 pugs, and we drove to Nashville overnight. I worked there for almost a year on overnights. From there, I made my way to Louisville, Kentucky, where I worked for the NBC station, which was a great experience because if you've never been to the Kentucky Derby, you really need to. It was crazy. Again, I worked overnights there as well. So I think for most of my career, I didn't sleep. And then I had the opportunity to go to New York City with my partner, and I applied at CBS News, and I got a writing job. So I was super excited about that. At the same time, that's when CBS was launching their digital platform, CBSN, and I was one of the original members on that. From there, I worked there forever. I helped launch CBS in New York, CBS in Boston, CBS in LA. And, it was fun, but the 24-hour news cycle was getting difficult, and I was just tired. I wanted to come back closer to home. As much as I loved living next to Central Park, having a tiny apartment really, it's hard to survive in. So I applied to work for a Scripps job here in Cincinnati because Scripps is headquartered here. I took a job here. My last role was an assistant news director. And after the pandemic, like everyone else, there was burnout, and I wanted to do something different, but I still wanted to be a storyteller. I still wanted to do everything I could. So I applied for the PR job at BrightView, and that's where I am now. I'm approaching 3 years there, still doing all the stuff that I got to do in TV, but it's less stressful. So I really enjoy it.
That's outstanding. So talk about what you are doing today. You said that you're a storyteller. You love telling those stories. I think that's pretty germane to everybody that does what we do. Talk about what your work in PR for BrightView and telling stories. What all is involved with what you do there?
Well, we have 70 plus centers in 5 states, and I'm the only PR person, so I'm doing a lot. Um, I'm getting to meet some of the staff, some of the patients, and what I really pushed for when I first got there was my way of helping fight the stigma around addiction. You know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not in the medical field, but I could still do something to help fight addiction, and that was storytelling. And I found that I have a great ability to get people to like open up to me. So, you know, what started out as short 10-minute interviews, they turned into 45-minute, 2-hour interviews where people were telling me way more than I ever thought I would hear. So turning those into short or long form stories, posting them on the web, sharing them with our staff. And then this past September, which is National Recovery Month, I came out with my first ever documentary. And that was just, it was a crazy experience, but I said I was a storyteller. My parents used to make fun of me because they would pay me to tell them where my sisters were sneaking out. And my sisters would pay me to tell my parents what they weren't doing. So I've been making up stories and since I was a kid. So it's all just grown into this amazing experience now.
Yeah, we've got your, you sent me the link to your documentary. We'll make sure we put that in the comments and share that with everybody. So you've gone through this broadcast career, you've gone through this PR career, and now you're making documentaries in PR and such. We talked a lot about the classes that you take and how important it is to really pay attention and to work in those classes, but then also you've got to practice. You have to practice your craft. What all were you involved in when you were in college that helped you practice what you do?
What was I not involved in? I took I think Mr. Underwood was there. I was trying to take every film class I could with him. Dr. Benton and I still are in contact now. I took as many interpersonal communication classes as I could to learn how to just understand people and myself. Dr. Baker, I was taking film classes with her because I really appreciate the art of filmmaking and storytelling. At the time, I think we only had a radio station, and I did a little bit of work with that, but it was so popular, it was really hard to get a part of it. But I did do almost a year-long internship my senior year at the TV station in St. Joseph, where I was a one-man band intern, and I had to put everything to use. So there was a lot of trial by fire. But as I've grown in the career, as the technologies changed, because obviously editing is completely different now than it was in 2006. So it's a lot of self-teaching. Like I ask a lot of questions still, but a lot of it I try by doing it. And so it's a constant evolving learning experience.
You know, I got my degree in public relations thinking that somewhere along the way, I might need to do something with television. I might need to do something with radio. So I took a couple of those classes. Is that what you have found in your PR world that obviously you're doing some filmmaking with the documentary, but have you found that the experience with some background with radio, some background with television, obviously the writing, all of that's come together to help form where you are today?
Definitely. Throughout my time in television, I was getting a lot of pitches from people in PR. So I can point out a good pitch and a very bad pitch, or someone who's very persistent, or, how you need to pitch something to get someone in television to be interested in it. So now that I'm on the PR side, I'm thinking back to all my friends over my time in television about how I can get them to want to work together and trying to stay ahead of a story or make everything more positive. So, you're not being reached out to by journalists for bad reasons. They want to come to you for like advice and stuff like that. So everyone is working together. At the time in college, I really didn't understand how everyone was connected, but in a way, everyone knows everyone. And like, even if you leave TV, you still have connections there, and those people know those people. So, you need everyone to get stuff to happen these days.
Absolutely. Now, you talked about you're in 5 states, and how many centers did you say there are?
71.
So 71 centers, 5 stories, or 5 states, and you're telling stories for all of these. Where do you get your ideas?
Sometimes it's on the fly, and sometimes you just got to sit down and talk to someone because everyone's story is unique. And sometimes after an interview, there's not much there you can do with it. Some people are more, expressive. So you're like, wow, there's so much I can do with this. So it's really just getting to know people, or staying connected to people that work in the centers. Like, hey, do you guys have someone that I could talk to? And I also found that a lot of our employees, well, not a lot, some of our employees are in active recovery themselves. So they have a story about how they're using their job now to help, themselves and help others along. So it's really just talking to people, and just trying to tell the story a different way each time. So it's not just the same thing over and over and over.
What projects are you working on now?
I'm slowly working on the Doc 2 now. I'm trying to figure out what the angle is. I think it's going to just be probably focusing on like the ripple effect of addiction, that it's not just the person suffering, it's like the friends, the family, the children. But just finding people to talk, and with so many centers not in the Cincinnati area, it's a lot of travel. So just working on that, trying to find more stories, trying to say the news in a positive way. And,
That's some important work that you're doing, David. I commend you for it. It's got to be a drain sometimes because, addiction stories aren't typically they may end positively, but that journey to get there has got to be tough. How do you stay motivated? How do you what is your why? Why do you do this?
why do I do this? Well, my way of giving back to other people is just telling their story. I'm not going to be a billionaire where I can donate lots of money to people, but I can tell their story and make them feel important and feel seen and feel heard. Like I grew up around addiction. I lost family members, excuse me, but that was a big reason why I took the job. And like, I learned a lot about addiction doing this that I never thought I would too. It opened up my eyes to a lot, but no matter what I do, I just want to tell people's story because everyone needs to be heard. Everyone needs to be seen and feel appreciated. And whatever I can do to help out in that process, that's what I'm going to do.
That's outstanding. So what's next for David McDonald? You're going to continue with this? You planning to work your way up the ladder? I don't even know if you can work your way up a corporate ladder there or not. What's next?
This is one of the first times that I have not had like steps planned out, because I always knew in television I was going to become a producer, executive producer, an assistant news director, something like that. But now for the first time, I'm not like, so stuck on what I want to do next. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. It did take the pandemic and all those years in TV and overnights and long days and giving up holidays to put myself first. And like, I can't help other people if I'm not helping myself and taking care of myself. So a lot of now is taking care of myself and enjoying time with family and friends and, life in general. Cause I feel like I gave up so much working on overnights. I wouldn't change anything because I am who I am now because of that, but I missed out on a lot, and I'm just taking some time to slow down and appreciate stuff.
I think that's a great plan. You've got to take that time for yourself and, be able to give back. That's something I got to know you through Carol Benton when you came back one time for a visit. And that's something I could say right off the bat is that you care about others and you want to serve others and help others. And that's one of the beauties of our profession is we get to tell people stories. We do get to share. And, we get a lot of students who say, I just want to make a lot of money. And you can in this profession. You can go on and make a lot of money, but you can make even more of an impact. And that's what you're doing. And I'm so glad that we got to be a part of that journey for you. Before I let you go, I do have to ask, what is some advice that you would give to a current UCM student who wants to follow in your footsteps, who wants to go out and get a career as a storyteller? And then what would you tell to a student who's probably maybe in high school, maybe community college, they're thinking about UCM as a place to further their academic career?
I'll start with the potential students. When I went to CMSU, UCM, I didn't exactly know what I wanted, but there were so many opportunities to test the waters and find out what I liked, what I was good at, what I was bad at. And, then I made my way that way. So don't feel like you need to start day one knowing exactly what you want to do. Just be open to change, try everything. To current students, do as much as you can. Make connections, keep those connections positive, because you never know down the road when you're going to need to reach out to someone like, hey, I see you guys have a job. what can we do to, get my resume across the table. And just, I used to tell people to do as much as you can and work, but you got to take care of yourself. At the end of the day, you can't do your job at 100% when you're burnout. And I've spent so much time burnout that it's a difficult place to be. So breathe, enjoy what you do. Yes, everyone wants to make money, but you can only do so much with a big bank account when you have no time to do anything with it.
Yeah.
But just explore, do everything, because I never thought I'd be in PR. I was going to be a journalist the rest of my life. So just stay open to every opportunity out there and just enjoy it.
Great words of wisdom. Thank you so much, David. Great having you on here. I feel like we finally got you on the show. You're doing some amazing work. Keep it up. Take care of you and keep telling those stories.
Thank you so much.
Thanks all of you for tuning in. Remember, you can catch every episode on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/UCMMN. You can also listen on Spotify. Special thanks to Jake Mager for creating our theme music. And again, this is Dr. Joe Moore reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.